I still remember the exact moment her words cut through me. Sharp, cold, and delivered with that familiar smirk she'd perfected over the years. We were standing in the middle of my mother's living room, surrounded by relatives, when my sister leaned close and whispered, "Some people are born winners, and some people just stay stuck. You're still stuck, aren't you?" She didn't even bother hiding it. She wanted me to hear it. She wanted everyone else to hear it too. And the worst part? A few of them laughed. Nervously, of course, but they laughed. My chest burned, but I said nothing. I had trained myself for years to stay calm, to swallow the insult, let it pass, and hope she would eventually treat me like family, not competition. But that day was different. Her tone, her smile, her timing. It felt like she wanted to embarrass me again, and something inside me whispered, "Enough." She wasn't always like this. When we were kids, she was the loud one, the shining one, the one everyone trusted to do everything right. I was the quiet one, the one who needed guidance, advice, pushing. And somehow, somewhere along the line, my sister decided that meant she was above me, that she could measure my life, judge my choices, mock my pace. But what she never understood, not even for a moment, was that silence doesn't mean weakness. Quiet doesn't mean incapable. And patience. Patience can be the strongest weapon a person has. Because while she spent her life chasing validation, I spent mine learning, watching, working, building, slowly, privately, quietly. That day, as she walked away laughing with 2 cousins, I looked at her and thought, "You've mocked me for years, but you're not ready for what's coming." I didn't plan revenge in the usual sense. No yelling, no confrontation, no dramatic fight. No, my revenge was quieter, cleaner, and in the end, far more powerful. Because she had no idea that the very thing she mocked me for, the small little project I'd been working on, was about to change everything. Not just for me, but for our entire family. And when the truth came out, when she finally saw what I had built with my own hands, she couldn't speak. She couldn't blink. She couldn't breathe. She was simply speechless. And that silence felt like justice. Growing up, my sister Aisha was the golden child, everyone's pride, everyone's favorite. She was loud, brilliant, and socially magnetic. Wherever we went, people gravitated toward her. I didn't resent her popularity. Honestly, I admired it. But admiration slowly turned into pain when she started using her charm as a weapon, mostly against me. It started subtly. Backhanded compliments, funny comments about my grades, little remarks about my slow progress. She finished college with honors. I took a year off for my mental health. She called it laziness. She got her first job. Within months, I worked part-time and took certification courses. She called it wandering. She bought a car by 24. I saved every rupee and still used ride shares. She called it embarrassing. Every milestone she reached became an opportunity to compare, loudly and publicly. But the real turning point came 2 years ago when I announced that I wanted to start my own online business. I was excited, nervous, hopeful. I expected support. Instead, she laughed. "Business? You? You can barely organize your own room." That sentence stayed in my mind longer than it should have. I didn't snap back. I didn't argue. I just felt something shift inside me. So I did what she never expected. I stopped telling her anything. For the first time, I kept my goals private. I stopped sharing my plans. I stopped giving her ammunition. Instead, I poured all my energy into my work. Courses, trainings, nights without sleep. Quiet progress, quiet learning, quiet building. And as I grew silently, she grew louder. Still jobless? Still doing that hobby? Still wasting time? Her favorite line was, "You're too sensitive. Everyone succeeds except you. Why don't you accept that?" She thought her words broke me. They didn't. They built me. because nothing motivates a person more than being underestimated. She had no idea that the hobby she mocked was slowly turning into something real, something stable, something big, and by the time she realized what I had created, it was too late. 3 months before everything exploded, our family hosted a huge dinner for our parents' anniversary. Relatives came from everywhere, Karachi, Lahore, even abroad. The house was full of noise, laughter, gossip, the usual chaos. Aisha arrived dressed like she owned the place. Makeup perfect, designer clothes, gold jewelry shining. I came straight from a meeting with a client. Simple clothes, minimal makeup. I wasn't trying to impress anyone. I was just tired. Like always, she found her moment. While helping in the kitchen, she loudly said to my aunt, "Some people choose success, and some people choose excuses. Right, sister?" My spoon froze midair. My aunt looked uncomfortable. Everyone knew who she meant. I smiled quietly, my usual response. But Aisha wasn't satisfied. She walked to me and dropped her voice low. "Tell me honestly, aren't you tired of being behind?" Behind. That word. It echoed inside me. I didn't react, but she kept going. "You're almost 30. No stable job. No big achievements. Don't you think it's time to wake up?" Just then, my phone beeped. It was a message from a long-term client. "We're ready. Sign the contract this week." My heart sped up. This contract. This one deal. It would triple my income. But Aisha didn't know any of that. She looked at me like I was nothing. Later that night, she made one more comment, loud enough for every relative to hear. "Maybe some people are just not meant for great things." A few people laughed. Some stayed quiet. Some looked at me with pity. And that was the moment. That exact moment. I realized something important. She wasn't mocking me because I was failing. She was mocking me because she believed, truly believed, I could never rise above her. Her arrogance wasn't confidence. It was fear disguised as superiority. And that's when I made a decision. I wasn't going to argue. I wasn't going to defend myself. I wasn't going to beg her to stop. I was going to let my work speak louder than she ever could. And soon, it would. 2 weeks later, something happened that revealed a side of her I never wanted to see. I received a message from her best friend, someone I wasn't very close to. "Can we talk privately? It's about Aisha." I ignored it at first. Drama wasn't my thing, but she insisted. "It's important. You deserve to know." Finally, I agreed. What she told me shocked me. She said Aisha frequently complained about me, not normal sibling complaints, but detailed attacks. She calls you a burden. She says your failures embarrass the family. She says you use your emotions to manipulate sympathy. She says you copy her style, her work, her achievements. She even warned me not to hire you for anything because you'll mess it up. I just sat there, frozen. It wasn't teasing. It wasn't sibling rivalry. It was personal, targeted, intentional. Her best friend continued, "I didn't believe her, so I checked your work myself. You're talented, really talented. She's lying to everyone to keep you small." Suddenly, everything made sense. Her confidence, her gossip, her public jabs. She wasn't just mocking me, she was sabotaging me. Quietly, strategically, consistently. But here's what she didn't know. I had built my business online. My clients weren't connected to her. My success didn't depend on her approval. My growth wasn't tied to her reputation. She thought she could slow me down, but she couldn't touch what she didn't even understand. Her friend ended the call with one more confession. "She's scared of you. She said if you ever succeed, people will finally see she's not the only star in the family." Fear. That was the root. Not superiority, not confidence. Fear. She feared I would outshine her. She feared losing her spotlight. She feared losing the image she'd created for herself. That night, I cried. Not because her words hurt me, but because I finally understood the truth. She didn't hate my failures. She hated my potential. And people like her, they make the same mistake every time. They assume the quiet ones will stay quiet forever. They assume the late bloomers will never bloom. They assume the slow starters will remain slow. She had no idea her biggest fear was only days away. I didn't want messy revenge. I didn't want an argument. I didn't want to humiliate her. I wanted clarity, truth, and a moment she could never twist. Within days, the contract I had been waiting for was finalized. It wasn't small. It wasn't average. It was huge. A long-term international project, months of work, stable income, a professional title that sounded almost unreal when spoken out loud. It was everything I had worked for, everything she swore I could never achieve. But I didn't announce it. I didn't update WhatsApp. I didn't post anything on Instagram. I didn't tell a single relative. I stayed silent, completely silent. Then came the moment life handed me the perfect opportunity. My uncle invited the entire family to celebrate his retirement. Everyone would be there, including Aisha. Perfect. I dressed simply, a plain outfit, minimal makeup, no hints of anything new. The evening started as expected. Family drama, gossip, food, noise, and right on cue, Aisha walked in, bold, confident, looking around to make sure all eyes were on her. Half an hour later, she found her chance. We were sitting in the lounge when she said loudly, "So, sister, any job updates? Or still living that creative dream of yours?" A few people chuckled. She loved that. I smiled gently and answered, "Actually, something new happened." She raised an eyebrow. "Oh, another workshop?" "No," I said calmly. "A contract." She smirked. "Local? International?" A few relatives turned their heads. She laughed. "International? You?" Her giggle echoed. And that's when I quietly took out my tablet and opened the project dashboard. I placed it on the table. Everyone leaned in. There it was. The project title, the company name, the approved contract, the first payment receipt. Her face drained of color. It was the first time in her life she couldn't speak. My aunt whispered, "Beta, this is huge." Another cousin muttered, "I didn't know you were doing all this." My father actually teared up, but Aisha, she froze. Her breathing quickened. Her eyes blinked rapidly, and for the first time ever, she looked small, really small. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Nothing. That was my revenge. Not victory, not humiliation, just truth. Truth so undeniable. It silenced her. After the shock settled, Aisha pulled me aside into a quiet corner of the garden. Her voice trembled, not loud, not mocking, but shaky. "You didn't tell me," she whispered. "For years, you told me I couldn't do anything," I replied softly. "Why would I share the things I worked for?" She looked away. Her jaw clenched. Her eyes shimmered. Then she asked something I never expected. "Did you do all this just to prove me wrong?" "No," I answered honestly. "I did this because I believed in myself, even when you didn't." She sat down, on the garden bench. Her hands were shaking. She looked broken, not by me, but by the realization of what she had done. She whispered, "I didn't think you'd ever succeed before me." "So you tried to keep me small?" I asked. She didn't answer, but her silence was loud enough. I continued, "There was room for both of us. You were the only one who didn't see it." She covered her face. "For the first time," she whispered, "I feel ashamed." Her voice cracked. Years of arrogance collapsing in minutes. "I'm sorry," she whispered. I thought if you rose, I'd disappear." It wasn't revenge I felt in that moment. It was sadness. Because no success feels good when it comes from exposing someone you once loved. But life had taught me something important. Sometimes the people closest to you are the ones who fear your growth the most. Over the next few weeks, Aisha changed. Not instantly, not perfectly, but noticeably. She stopped making jokes at my expense. She stopped comparing our lives. She even apologized to our parents for her behavior. One morning, she messaged me, "Can we start over?" And for the first time, I felt her message was genuine. I replied, "We can, but with boundaries." She agreed. We didn't become best friends overnight. Trust doesn't rebuild in a day. But respect? Respect began to grow. She stopped competing with me. I stopped hiding my achievements. We both learned our lessons. Now, months later, our relationship is healthier than it has ever been. Not perfect, but real. And occasionally, when she looks at me with pride instead of jealousy, I realize maybe the universe doesn't punish people. It just teaches them. Life will always give you two kinds of people, those who lift you and those who fear your wings. My sister wasn't evil. She was insecure. And insecurity can turn even the closest relationships into battles no one ever wins. But here's what I learned. You don't need to shout to prove yourself. You don't need to fight every insult. You don't need to defend your dreams to those who don't believe in them. Sometimes the most powerful revenge is quiet success. Success that speaks louder than every insult. Success that forces people to rethink the way they treated you. Success that turns mockery into respect. In the end, I didn't defeat my sister. I grew beyond her expectations. And that was enough.